Hey, welcome back, American Idol fans. I'm sorry this video is a little bit, well, it's actually several days behind, and I had some personal business taken care of, a little rescue mission. Little dog was involved. Mission was accomplished. A couple people are happy. But it did take a big chunk of time out of my weekend that I was going to have this video ready and up promptly. So please forgive me, but we will get a little bit better format at least. I've had time to really think through how we're going to do things. And what's kind of funny is evidently someone from Fremantle's legal department has flagged my videos for using copyrighted material. So I've got to be, I guess, a little bit different format in how I go over things. And so here's what I'm going to do. I've decided that I'll go ahead and just assume that you all have access either online or a DVR, and that you can review any portion of the show that you want. So I'm just going to tell you kind of what we're reviewing, okay? And I'm going to suggest certain sections that you watch before and after my comments. Fair enough? Alright, so to start with, let's just jump into the opening minute and a half, 2-minute intro, which I thought was perfectly done. Very well done. I will say that this episode in 2 hours made up for the stress I think a lot of us were feeling from Wednesday night, where we only had an hour to cram in what we thought was going to be a full episode, and it just didn't feel complete. We felt like we were left with too many hanging questions about, well, what happened to them and this and that. So I think this episode does a much better job of letting us get inside the well, let's say really behind the scenes. I think we felt a lot more of the real challenges that are going on. You know, that whole opening excerpt, you know, I'd recommend right now that you listen to the opening of the show, the first minute, half, 2 minutes, where they explain the psychological challenges, and that the intent of Hollywood Week really is to be kind of brutal. It's to see what people can handle, because to be able to do this week after week after week is very difficult. The thing you got to understand, think about what we've already seen in casualties. We've seen people fall that I kind of even predicted was going to happen. And no, I did not peek and find out spoiler info to see. I mean, it's like there's certain personality types you can tell just they might not be able to handle the pressure. The worship leaders, the kind of organic, raw musician types, like the Amy Winehouse types, like Poe. You know, I kind of saw that coming. You know, from the first time we heard her, it's like, wow, she's good, but does she have the right mindset? Is she going to be able to handle the pressure? You know, what you got to realize is personality really is a key factor in succeeding on these kind of shows. And what I mean by that is a lot of people have never learned self-discipline. This may sound really strange, but I'm telling you, this is a big issue. If you notice which contestants seem to be kind of free spirits and unstructured, they're the ones that we knew were going to fall. Okay, our Hawaiian girl. I saw it coming. Her personality was too relaxed, go with the flow, nonconformist. She doesn't like structure. I could just see that, oh no, this environment's going to be too much for her. We saw what happened. Even though I thought she sounded fine. But we're going to see this kind of thing come into play, where this is not just a singing competition. Okay? This is much more. This really is an endurance contest. And can you create a standard and then maintain it for 10, 12 weeks, however many it is? You know, I think in the time when David was on the show, there were 17 weeks. This time the show's going to be, what, 12 weeks? So they're cutting off a lot of time. They're going to have to consolidate a lot of weeks into one. So 2 at a time are going to go maybe when they hit top 12. Top 24 to top 12 might go really fast. People might be shocked at what happens. Who knows? Let's see. But they've got to make up for that time somewhere. And so far they've been using the same amount of time they usually do. So let's see if they can throw some curveballs and upset some people and maybe impress some of us. So here we go. We see the setting. We understand that there are some immediate concerns with the groups. As people are forming groups, we see some issues with people not fitting, not feeling there's connection, chemistry issues, and it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's the people skills. It's the how do you get along? How do you play with other kids? You know, that's what this really is. It's stuff you're supposed to learn in kindergarten. But it's so easy to predict which people are going to crash and burn. So, what do we see as these groups start to form? We see drama, we see certain types that their ego gets in the way. We see Scott Borchetta come in. We see make some comments, which, you know, I'm gonna have to, what should I say? Respectfully disagree with his take on you don't need to go in selfish as much as you need to understand that you've got to find a moment that you can seize. That doesn't mean you have to be selfish. But it does mean if someone else is trying to take over, you need to help make sure that all three of you or four of you in your group understand how to go for win-win, which is, hey, how do we make sure that we all have a moment? Okay, that's really what that should be about. It should be, well, I want to begin and I want to end. It's like, well, how do we make it fair? Because obviously someone has to begin and someone has to end. And that means the two people in the middle might have a less desirable spot. So what can we do to make sure that everyone gets their moment? That's how they got to go into it. And you can see that some of them are pretty selfish. They want to get their own way. They're not used to having to cooperate, collaborate. Skills that you wouldn't think have to do with singing. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. This is much more than just a singing competition. This is really an endurance contest, and it's a contest of character. You know, one thing I think you'll notice is that most of the people that endure are either extremely strong-willed and extremely self-invested, or just extremely humble. So let's see how it turns out this season. Yeah, so who would have thought that this is also a show of problem-solving skills? You know, we see this couple of these groups where, for whatever reasons, they split up. Okay, I'm not going to get into the drama about how, but I am going to talk about the problem-solving skills. I'll give Dalton some credit. Him and Cassidy, the way that they handled their situation. It's like, well, God, what's the protocol when, you know, they find out that Poe has decided she can't handle it. You know, that the call comes in from her dad and says, hey, you know, she just can't do it. And so, you know, it's not like she's deliberately doing it to her group, but her group now is in a bind. That's a problem. How do you solve it? I thought Dalton stayed real level-headed. Him and Cassidy proved they could be a good team, and look at what they did. Okay, look at what the other twosomes and people that had these group issues did. Look at the way that LaPortia, you know, felt, you know, hey, I need to go help this group, you know. And I think everybody had a different way of solving their problems. But it's interesting, just if you look at this, that's not part of singing, or so you think, but it is part of being an artist. Okay, so that's what we got to understand is what the show is showing us is that there's a difference between someone that can sing, but someone that has enough of their own self put together that they can direct themselves and discipline themselves so that they can become an artist. And what I mean by that again is, yeah, there are crash and burn artists, but you know, there's a way to live within a certain level of self-control, I guess, where I can just see a lot of these contestants not having the personality traits in control that they're going to need. Just simple as that, okay? All right, so let's keep moving on here. The next situation we're going to notice is some of these early groups are getting some advice that I don't agree with all of it, but again, they're doing what they're doing. Now, I think we're also just seeing a lot of camera time on certain people here. Okay, we know some of these people are going to make it through, and they should. They deserve it. But we're also realizing that some of the people we thought were going to be amazing, I'm not sure they were that amazing. Okay, this first group, for example, Blue Eyes. You know, I think that they were good. I like this guy's sound, but at the same time, he was like stretch him to hit the notes. They all have really good sounds, I guess. So, okay, I see why they made it through. Let's just put it that way.
Great start to group date. It can be a disaster. So,
I will say that the Vassar guy, I'm just not feeling him. I just feel he's way too theatrical. He's way there's no way he has the image that American Idol's looking for to win this. Okay, so if there are any fans of him, nothing disrespectful, but he's just not gonna win. I'll just say it right now. They're giving him a lot of camera time. They're putting a lot of emphasis on him. I'm pretty sure they're gonna put him in the top group, unless he's one of those, flip-flop at the last minute types. Same thing with this other guy who's it's his second year. I think he's good, but he just looks awkward. His image isn't working for me. He sounds really good, but he doesn't have a long-term pop star look. Sorry to say, with all due respect. Okay, and the girl with the red hair, I kind of feel the same thing. Both of them they're good, but they're just too average sounding to me. We'll see if they really stand out in the future, but I'm just not sure yet that either one of them has won me over as being a long-term pop star. Look at people like Crystal Bowersox. Very talented, amazing. Janis Joplin vibe. She could get bluesy, edgy as anybody. Okay, but has she really had a huge career? I don't think so. I think she's had a career, which I'm happy for her. There's other people. Carly Smithson, the season 7 with David. Amazing singer. Just fantastic. But she wasn't able to capitalize on a unique enough sound. She got kind of pigeonholed into being, well, you sound like so and so. Amy from Evanescence, and that's kind of the vibe she went for. And the problem was, she wasn't able to establish herself as a separate person. Lots of bands, when they try to find a lead singer to replace the original, I remember Kansas had that problem. John Elefante just never came across as what Steve Walsh did, and for a lot of people it just didn't work. A lot of bands have had this happen. So, Adam Lambert being Queen. A lot of people just can't buy into him. They don't care if he's really good. He just doesn't have what Freddie had. And they'll just never buy into it. Now, on the other hand, there's probably no one that could be a better job of being the lead singer of Queen right now than him. I think he does a great job. I'm just saying the purists, though, are going to have a serious issue and not going to buy into it. So, who are the superstars? Are any of these people looking like superstars?
So I was really, really happy.
I think they deserve to make it through.
Like all of you.
The girl with the hat that did the little piano solo piece in the original audition, her voice was just not consistent enough in that audition, and I'm not sure she's going to be able to have the skill set, again, for the endurance phase of this competition. So, with that said, okay, first group, they all go through. I do see some of them having potential to possibly making it to the top 24. I'm not sure I'm going to agree with the decision making, but at the same time, I can see what they're thinking. So let's move on to our next group, and the next group is going to have our gals. And what's great is the sound that each one of them has in this next group. This Sarah has an amazing,
My voice is so tight.
amazing sound. Matter of fact, I will just say before they sing, I probably loved her moments more than any of the other three. As far as just, they were raw and real, and the energy was just excellent. But all these girls I thought were great. I really liked them. If anything, it's interesting that two of these gals are from Utah. But I'm also realizing that I think I really
You
like
can hear it, and I
the
can
other
feel
three
it.
more
My
than
body's
the
slowly
one girl.
starting to shut down.
Lindsay has got a fabulous sound. She's got a very strong vibe, and she kind of reminds me of a Jessie J. So again, what's Lindsay going to do to show us something unique? Okay, Jen Blosel, same thing. She's created. Okay, right here we've got Bree Ray. Now, let me just tell you, her phrases. Okay, this is really, really micro technical, nitpicky. Okay, but her phrases were, she didn't maximize her space as well as the other three, if that makes sense. So in other words, the space that you fit your ideas, you want to maximize the little moments, so the notes and the runs. I felt Bree Ray rushed her phrases a teeny bit, and that's something that I think is going to be something that's going to hurt her down the road, because the other three do a really good job of milking the moment and trying to maximize the energy in their phrases. Okay, so here again. See how Lindsay, listen to the way her mouths, nothing left. The emphasis between those two notes, it's like she used a different texture in her voice. Whereas Bree Ray, when she's singing, it's kind of all in the same place. So what Lindsay's doing is she's exactly what I do. She's making it more three-dimensional. She's using multiple textures and dramatic effects just within the same phrase to really create dynamics and energy and movement. And I think she does it really, really well. So that's what I'm saying. I really thought of the four, her pocket, her style. Okay, that lick right there, that was that little Sarah girl. What's great about her is she doesn't look like she should sing like that. She doesn't look like, she looks way too sweet and innocent to be that soulful and have that kind of edge and grit. And boy, I love it. I think she sounds really good. It's kind of like the same thing I liked about Poe. There's that rawness, there's that Amy Winehouse street level sound. The good old Mary J. Blige, just natural musician sound, and it doesn't matter if some of the notes are pitchy. It's the feeling I get behind it, and the dynamic, and the edge, and the grit. It's the personality that comes through. Okay, Sarah does a fantastic job of that. So I really like that little moment that they created there. And again, Jen Blosel, like I say, it's still so bizarre to me that she's a returned missionary LDS person, because her vibe to me is, she just seems like, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but she just seems like she's really out there and she's used too many drugs. So whether she did in high school or not, I don't know, but there's plenty of Mormons that reform and change and have a past life. But this girl's really got an interesting kind of, the white goth, I don't know what you call it, but the opposite of goth, where it's all this white vibe, and it's really interesting, and I think it's really working for her. And you can see that she's getting plenty of attention from the producers. So I'm expecting her to have some potential, and as well as possibly some of these other girls in this group. So they are starting off the show very strongly with some excellent examples of people to watch. Okay, so
Risk work not as good as others. I don't care about that. You're four very talented young women.
okay, I have to agree with a lot of the comments too. They're making better judgments, Now, you'll notice that when they're not looking at notes and they're actually able to voice their own genuine opinions, it just comes out differently from when they're saying things that you can tell they're a little bit reserved because the producers want them to say. So, let's just say that we've got some really strong opening groups, and I'm really happy with the quality of the directing and production and editing and all that. And we are seeing a lot of camera time for the gens. All right, we'll skip J-Lo's chocolate obsession. Whatever she does to burn it off is what matters, right? It's not what goes in, it's what you do to keep it off. So if you do what you need to, you can put in whatever you want, right? Okay, moving right along here. Okay, now one of my favorites, who again is kind of an unsung hero, is again we've got another really amazing third group here, where we've got, and again, let's see, where's this? This is at 19 minutes. 19 minutes in, okay? Let's see. Yeah, about 19:10. Okay, we've got some youngsters here. And they're all pretty good.
For U
So,
times 2, Jen still has an appetite for talent.
let's see what happens here.
No, I'm not one to break promises. I don't wanna hurt you, but I need to breathe.
Let me just say, Amelia Eisenhower, I wouldn't want to get her mad at me. Because boy, does she's got that Janis Joplin depth to her. I love this girl. I think as far as an artist and just a natural musician, she's completely doing all the things that I try to get people to do right. And that is feel everything she's saying and singing. And so far, she's doing a really great job of connecting to her songs, to her material. So I hope she stays around. I hope she can handle it. She does seem young and raw, and she's someone that I thought was a coin flip, as if she could endure through Hollywood Week. But so far, I'm loving how she sounds, and I really hope that she makes it through. Okay, now, Tristan in this instance, this is a really delicate critique. You can look at this from a couple different angles, because in one way, her voice is fantastic and she's soulful. But guess what? You can tell she's still young. But that's part of, I think, what makes her so interesting, and maybe kind of like David was the season he was on. It's like you can hear this youthfulness to their sound, but you also hear this depth and maturity to it. So I see why they like her, but she definitely is I think she's gonna have a hard, it's gonna be good they're not gonna do group weeks more than just Hollywood Week. On her own, it's not noticeable. But in this situation where she's contrasting against someone like we just heard, it's just much more difficult to make some of her weaknesses not noticeable, okay? So she needs to thicken her voice. As she gets older, it'll just happen. But in the meantime, it's noticeable. That's all I'm saying. So that was a great lick. That was a real
Tristan, I think you really sing beautifully.
pro lick.
Really
Very
shine.
well done. But I'll tell you who also just sounded amazing is this next group. All right, last group, we know they all made it through again. So they put together some very well thought out strategic groups, meaning the contestants were wise in who they hooked up with. Some of them, they fit really well. Okay, this next group, we got a bunch of girls here. And this is at 20 minutes and 47 seconds in.
Avalon. You look like you could be in the
Avalon,
music video song right now.
I really like Avalon, okay? I want to get back to Avalon. Okay. Okay, Pocket, listen here. Look at their bodies while they're dancing and see which ones you can tell are feeling the flow of the song versus the ones that are still a little awkward. Okay? The redheaded girl, hate to say, but her movements, you could just see she wasn't capturing the essence of the beat and the flow of the music like Avalon was. Okay?
You look like you could be in the music video for that song right now. Man, you really are a talented singer. You really are.
And it's more than
like
singer. See, it's because
I really like that.
see here's the thing you got to realize. Part of being a great singer is getting the music, absorbing it properly. That's what she just shows she did. Okay, Avalon did a great job. Now, what's weird here is, let's see, do we see who made it through? Okay, I think so. But now we got our next group. And Genevieve nailed it. Oh my gosh.
Genevieve, I gotta tell you something. You
I have to completely
a
agree
in your voice, which is what that song is about.
that
And
the
you
judges
made
see
some
they're
very-
nailing
the
this.
most important thing.
They're
That
doing a
is
great
potential
thing.
artistry. I'm proud of all three of you.
Okay, so you got to give these gals some credit. They really did blend beautifully. And that lead part Genevieve took, obviously the producers loved it, and I feel bad for the other two girls. Because they sounded really good, but they didn't get much attention, did they? So they're probably not going to make it through, and Genevieve probably is, okay? Top 24 predictions, fairly obvious, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, now, we got to understand something here. This final season, the show is blatantly giving us lots of hints and making it easier for us to predict who the top 24 is. So, those of you that have not looked at the spoilers, I would be interested in knowing who you think, if you have a top 24 list. Okay, and here's what would be fun to do. Okay, here's the email that I'm using for this. It's archjazz@yahoo.com. Okay? So feel free to just shoot me an email with what you think your top 24 prediction is. Now, if you peeked, please don't cheat. Okay?
Because you reminded me how much I love this job.
Okay, now, can I say something about this next act?
I just love it. I love this
Okay,
whole-
I gotta play this here because
But as long as you are with me,
when I heard this,
there's no place I'd
my back was to the screen. I thought it was a commercial. The vocal was so pure and clean and pro. That was the 16-year-old China. If you go back and listen to that and close your eyes, it's almost like, wow, this sounds like a studio commercial recording for a commercial. Something that was done in a studio recording. It was fantastic. So I love her voice. I definitely think that she's got immense musicality, musicianship skills in her.
There's no place I'd rather be.
And that ending was just beautiful. That was just flawless. I mean, they should be a group, okay? Seriously. Those four, that was just absolutely beautiful. So, with that being said, they've really started the show off strong. I mean, really no sad departures here yet. We do see a couple of familiar faces and some struggles people have gone through, but this sets us up for probably one of the most incredible stories we're going to see in all 15 seasons of Idol. And that is, hey, this Trent Harmon guy, he is just pulling on heart and character. Because the guy is beaten up and he's sick and he just feels terrible. And I mean, imagine it's like you can't be around anybody. You're all by yourself. And you know what? I'm buying into Trent's story. Okay, I'm believing he's genuine and humble. You're gonna have people who are gonna say, "Oh, he's just an act. It's the good old country boy down south, good old boy act." No, I'm buying into it. I think this guy's absolutely legit. And he comes out, you hear his story, you just look at the look in his eye, you can tell this is real. He's just, I don't know what I'm going to do, what should I do, and he says, well, I guess I'm just going to try to do it. And
15 seasons, we've never had a group of one. Move around.
You got to give the show credit for the way they edited it. This is when you got to go watch this episode before we comment. It's just too good, okay? To see what Trent goes through, the all by myself reference. I mean, this is just wonderful. Give American Idol producers great credit for the packages they're putting together on this season. This is fantastic the way they set it up. They allow them to be a group of one. I mean, come on, they got to make exceptions for a guy with mono.
I've got to
And so,
the vocals worth of
what blew my mind is Trent he didn't look at it like, okay, good, they're letting me get by. This is why I'm talking about character, why I really like this guy. Just as a person. I want him to do well. I'm not going to say I loved his voice. I think he was really, really good. It's not my kind of voice, I'll be honest. It might have been, though, some nerves. The vibrato was kind of freaking me out. It was just too much going on, and it just didn't seem controlled enough. But he may be able to tone it down. I remember his opening audition was pretty impressive, too. But here's the thing I respect about this guy. Not only did he not go up there and try to get the judges to feel sorry for himself, but he tried to be a group. He tried to move all over the stage and try to do different parts. Man, I was just loving this guy. He got me. He made me feel like, okay, I want this guy to make it through here. And boy, what a great example for other people. And I hope they can see that. That's the lessons you want to learn through this stuff, right? Okay. So we know Trent comes out.
There's really nothing to it except.
And he basically knocks it out of the ballpark.
We're 1,000 miles from comfort.
Okay, I'm just going to let you guys watch it because, again, I don't want the show to get mad. I guess if I only show a few seconds, maybe they won't make a big deal about it. But we do want to make sure that we give him all the credit. So go watch it.
Your talent, man. That was really, really good.
Thank you, sir. We've seen
Okay,
so
now,
many people that are immensely
I have to
talented
apologize.
for a variety of reasons.
I have to apologize for hearing in advance, okay? And I don't know what it is, but it's something about jazz musicians that even though there are some amazingly funny, just comedian geniuses in the jazz world, there are a lot of wannabe comics. There's jazz guys that they try to be funny, and they say lines like they're supposed to be funny, but they just don't work. And unfortunately, I think Harry must have been exposed to one of those kind of jazz musicians too, because his mono joke just didn't work. So let's just skip that, move on. We'll give Harry a teeny bit of credit for an attempt, but I can't really call that a legitimate joke about the mono thing, okay? But here's what we will say. The judges' comments on pretty much all these initial groups, what we're hearing anyway, are fantastic. But notice how they're singling out certain people. I'm feeling that they are suggesting that those are the ones that are going to go onto the top 24. Okay, so there's probably reason why a lot of these kids are just, it's not fair. They're not getting enough exposure compared to some of these others, okay?
We choose our song now, we'll be able to rehearse for 4 or 5 hours and be in bed by 12
Okay, now
o'clock.
we're going to I'm going to give credit here. We got some more group drama coming off of this next commercial. So we're at 30 minutes in. And what I'm going to say now is that a lot of this stuff is really... This little Michelle girl nailed it. It's like, let's hurry and pick our song, and then we got all night to work on it. And instead, they went and wasted all this time singing songs. I mean, what an idiot. And so I hate to say that the girl that may have pioneered, been the chief and not given in to the younger, wiser girl, paid the ultimate price, didn't she? So she is gone. The others made it through. Okay, let's continue. We want to move to the next group. Oh, and this one broke my heart because you know what? This next
all
group...
of the people that we're seeing are people that we thought were going to be amazing performers.
Everybody just seemed like fatigue, and all I can say is when you're exhausted like you genuinely are, welcome to your career.
Okay, fantastic comment by Keith, and that is, One thing we learned early on, because David was always sick, it seemed like from the very beginning, most of the things he did were during the winter, and he'd get colds, and so he'd just be sick, and we'd have to figure out how to get him to sing and feel okay singing without sniffling and coughing and hacking and just having that real cold sounding voice. So, you can't make excuses. You have to figure out a way to deal with it. And that's exactly what I think we're seeing in some of these crash and burns. Now, I was really surprised that in that group
That's what it is.
of
The job
Elvie
now is how to not let me see that.
and
Your moment.
that
This camera's
all the three other
rolling.
people made it through, but
Seize it. Take it.
of all of them, Elvie's the one that didn't make it. I don't know why they like this country guy so
Elvie.
much.
Unfortunately, you're going home.
That's not the guy I wanted to see go home. Okay? Our Hawaiian friend.
Some just choke. They just do. And,
They're saying she choked.
ones you would never
I guess
expect.
she lost the lyrics or something.
It just happens.
And she may have. I still liked her vibe. I think she's a really interesting person, but like I say, her personality wasn't going to work. She did not have the right personality, and that's fairly obvious. Okay, now, next thing I'm trying to understand. I don't understand what's going on here.
Not fair on that stage, for sure. Unfortunately, not all of you are going to be going through to the next round. But the ones
Okay,
that are
the next
going
group
through are
Are this Mackenzie? Okay,
Mackenzie,
Juno, we don't even know about,
Kayla.
and Kayla. So,
Thank you, Ashley. I'm sorry.
again, I'm afraid that we probably have Mackenzie that's going to make it through top 24. Goodbye to Ashley.
Another Little Rock favorite, Cameron Richard.
No surprise that Cameron didn't make it through.
Huge impression on you, and then to see
Definitely
them
knew he
here
wasn't ready.
and hope that they make that same impression again.
Nice kid, but come
Doing
on.
good.
Cameron, I'm sorry, it's the end of the line.
Feels like I am just too close to love you. Oh, there's nothing I can really say.
You just never know.
See, the kid's, let me just say, Cameron kid, he's got such soul. I love his heart, but he's just young. His voice, you can tell he's just barely developing his sound, I mean, David was his sound was so much more robust, and his tone was so much rounder and bigger and richer. This kid's just barely getting it together. But I love his heart. I love his personality. He's got a lot to learn, but I think he's got the right attitude. I think he might be able to go get better, and he's such a likable kid. I'd like to see him do well. All right, so moving right along. Okay, we're now coming into the next section, and some of these comments, I gotta say, as we're looking at how the show has to weed out and boil down things to the top 24, okay, we realize that they are trying to get variety. They want a broad range of representation. But remember, ultimately, they want that top 12.
Out as a foursome, experience the
And-
highs.
And that's why we've got our international group coming up next. Okay, we've got Anatalia, our Filipino girl. We've got our Russian import. Well, born in the USA, imported to Russia, come back to be on American Idol. Okay, we've got Stephanie Negrete, who's our gorgeous Mexican, and who sounds pretty good actually. And then we've got Sonica, who comes from a Southeast Asia, Indian, I believe, Pakistan, Bangladesh, one of those countries. I don't want to be disrespectful. Could just be India. But bottom line is, this is our international gals group. And I thought they were fantastic. Except for the Russian guy. He's just too over the top. Oh, I do. Sorry, I guess I realized that This is the group that the mom came in and decided that she just didn't fit, right? And so, that's right, she left and went with Dalton and the other girl. And I guess both groups ended up better off than they would have been, right? Okay, now let's see.
Well, the group originally picked a song that I wasn't very comfortable with, and they didn't really want to compromise with that. So they literally, we were standing in the middle of the hallway, and they just walked off and left me standing in the hallway. So,
okay, now this is interesting that they show both sides throwing each other into the bus. So, oh well, I guess that's okay then. Now, Cassie.
I know that you don't know, but makes you fine, so fine. My treasure.
Okay, so anyway, their group does survive. They do a good job with Treasure. Sounds great. Okay, so
Right now.
we see some happy stories. They like all three of these.
All you're going through the next round.
Okay, all of them are getting a lot of attention. Could they all make it through the top 24? I doubt it. I doubt it. I think they really like the Dalton guy, though. And he's unique. He's got that pretty boy rocker indie guy. I think they really like him. Cassie's good, but she sounds like a lot of other, just a lot of other singers that we see a lot of. And that is the real big voice. She's attractive, but she's not like striking. I don't think she's like going to be gorgeous level. That again, I'm thinking of how producers think of Stephanie Negrete. Contrast those two. Who's more of an idol? Okay, we're thinking long term. I hate to say it, but a lot of these voices, this is where I hate to say it's a package, and the ones that don't have the look just aren't going to get there. So we really do need to figure out what's it going to take to make it all the way through. Okay, so our next group is the Russian. It's the group that got whittled down from 4 to 3. We lost our Filipino member. Okay, but bottom line is whatever they did to throw her under the bus, they all sounded good. Like I say, the Russian guy just doesn't do it for me. I do not see him making it very far. Okay, I'll just say that right now. Stephanie Negrete grew on me with this audition much stronger. It's cool that guys can sing Mariah Carey licks, but I don't see it being real marketable, okay? This did get a little repetitive, but they sound good. The blend still is good. Yeah, I just think they sound good.
Step forward.
Sonica, Stephanie, they do all sound good. So
Will it continue? Can they keep it?
I do have an issue though with just guy diva singers on American Idol. Okay, Adam Lambert, yes, pulled it off, but it's because he had an image. He had a real, pretty face look. He appealed to females and males. He had a real marketable image, and I think that's what worked for him. Some of these people that have won American Idol that just kind of disappeared. Well, look at their image.
What happens if that happens today?
Look at the ones that have been real successful. They've had a real unique image, and they stood out from the crowd in some way. Carrie Underwood, Jordan Sparks, but she still went and did certain things to lose weight, change her image. Both Jordan and Jennifer Hudson. Nothing wrong with that. That's really good for their health. I'm not saying that people that are heavy can't win American Idol, but the odds are this last season, someone's going to have to be the full package. And I do believe that whoever wins it this season is going to have a look. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to factor that in. If someone's look is a 6 or a 7, They got to be at least a 8 or a 9. You know, there's a couple that could be considered close to 10s, high 9s, but we'll have to see if they can. The ones as we start whittling down from the 24 to 12, we'll see how much looks comes into play. All right. All right. So next group. Okay, now the next thing that's going to come into play at about 51 minutes in is the whole issue of rhythm. And again, I'm a big proponent of teaching people early on how to feel rhythms and subdivide and break things down so that you're really capturing the pulse of what the music's doing. And I give you an example of Avalon and her group, watching them and seeing how the bodies respond to the music, not just the singing. And I think now we see a series of groups that just have rhythm problems. And Harry, being a jazz guy from New Orleans, he's got that pegged. I mean, you grow up in New Orleans, you learn rhythm, you learn drum beats, you learn percussion issues, syncopation. So Harry gets this stuff better than anybody. I mean, he could teach a master class on this, I'm sure. So he's pointing out that, well, look at these guys, and I hate to say it, but they're a bunch of white guys, most of them. And they just don't have the moves. And he's kind of making fun of them, and I don't blame him, because it's not that he's making fun of them, but it's just like, oh my gosh, these guys don't have rhythm. And people don't realize that singing, to go from being a singer to a musician, you gotta refine your rhythm skills. You gotta learn how to feel stuff. And that is a factor that's going to determine also who makes it all the way to the end. Because if you're on the stage and you're not feeling stuff quite right, it's weird because the audience can tell. It's noticeable. At least the more advanced, refined, detail-oriented audience members. And again, this is what separates good from great. So I think we're going to see quite a bit of this as we go on, and why a lot of these guys are going to drop off, and I don't think they're going to be able to make it all the way to being idols. Okay, a couple of these groups, got to say that the group with, I'm glad to see a lot of them go. I'm surprised some of them made it through, because some of these groups were lame, like the one with Emily Brooks and Adam Lasher in, I think that was his name. They were pretty lame. Wasn't really much that you could get excited about. The group after them was the one with Jackie Butler and Craig Dale Brown, and I couldn't wait to see them go fast enough. They're ones that I thought shouldn't have even made it through the Hollywood Week. Okay, so I was glad to see that they're finally sending some people home, and even whole groups, or majority groups.
Be on stage and grab my attention.
But some of these just did not have it.
Man. I mean, when you got I mean, that makes you want to kick somebody or throw a shoe across the room.
Yeah, Harry's got his issues about the rhythm.
I'm so sorry.
So that whole group disappeared. But now we got Kyle.
We all have different sounds to mesh up. You want to mesh that well. You don't want to mess it up.
Kyle, Casey, John, and Marcio. I like these guys. Trick or treat. Okay. The thing about them is, I love their energy. They hit this with a lot of energy. The phrasing of what they're doing. So it's intensity, okay? Okay, this John Klassen, his rhythm was a little off, but it wasn't bad. And then this Bob Marley looking dude, I don't know why we haven't seen these guys. That guy seems like he's real seasoned and has got a cool vibe about him. So I wish we would have seen more of him. Okay, now Casey Haynes, he's the guy I told you reminds me too much of Nick from last season. So I just don't see him going far. They've already had kind of a questionable. Okay, I'll just say it.
And I thought you
Nick
guys did
Nick
good.
really hasn't done
Thank you
anything.
guys so much.
Yeah, I really
So-
love the way you.
I just don't see. I don't see him having any potential of winning. So, if he's good to make it in the top 24, do we put him in because he's good enough? Or is it like, wait, there's just no way? So, here's what it boils down to. How many of these people that they're focusing on do we see really being able to take it all the way to the end? And that's really what we got to keep in mind. So, this group that we just saw, I like them a lot, but I don't think any of those guys is going to make it, even though I really like him. I like Marcio. I think he's got a really cool vibe.
Oil pens, watercolor, crayons, everything.
Okay, let's see now.
While the judges ponder their backup plans,
Oh, yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay, I gotta bring this up. Okay, J-Lo and Harry are talking about other things that they're into. J-Lo's saying she tried to do drawing and she was terrible at it. And I thought, no, isn't it interesting that people can be really good in some things and just not get other things at all? You know, that's one of the things that's always baffled me. And what I realized is, I get it now. I can explain this mystery, okay? There are those of you that would like to know. I can tell you. Well, maybe. Let's see if this makes sense. Actually, I'm going to have to put this on hold. I will come back to this. Okay, here's what it is. Most of us that are good at things, there's two ways. You know, there's stuff that we've had to learn to be good at, and there's stuff that we've just gotten. We just get it. It's just been kind of intuitive. So there's stuff that's intuitive that we don't have to process. It's something that we can just kind of pick up and we figure out. And a lot of things that we do in life are like that. Okay, but there are other things that if you think about how you do them, we don't know. And so what I've noticed is there are people that have taken the time to think about what they think about and what they're thinking about when they're doing what they're doing, so they learn how to understand and predict their own behavior and be able to change and influence their behavior because they're able to think about their thoughts and how they feel. They're able to actually kind of like look outside themselves so they can be objective about what they're thinking, how they feel, and what they're doing. And then by understanding those three things, they're able to change any or all of those variables to get a different behavior. Okay, so what's interesting is once you learn how to do something really well, if you reverse engineer and deconstruct how you do it and break it up into steps, which is exactly what I've done. That's exactly what I've been doing without realizing it for the first 40-something years of my life. And then the last 5 or 6 years, I've been doing it on purpose because I finally realized that, oh, wow, that's how stuff works. You can actually break down things and processes, and then you can create learning systems that you can teach other people how to do so that they can speed up the process of getting good at things. And obviously I'm applying it primarily to music, but it works with anything. So, how does that apply to J-Lo? What's the purpose of this crazy discussion? Well, it's because if she were to figure out how she got good at dancing and music, she'd realize that even if it was intuitive and she didn't consciously figure out what to do, I bet you there were things she did. So what you do is you just figure out what the steps were. Excuse me. And there are some common denominators in all learning. One of them is the concept of exposure. You know, it's like the quality of what you get exposed to. Now, most people don't know what the quality is of what they're exposed to because they're just getting exposed to it. But once you've been exposed to a lot of stuff, you start to create opinions and you can compare stuff and you can kind of start assembling your own internal database of how you prioritize things, and you start to feel very strongly about certain things and like certain things. Okay, well, more importantly is you may think, well, I want to learn how to be good at that also. Well, once you learn a system of how to get good, you can translate it to other things. So the things that allowed J-Lo to get good at singing and dancing, if she were to break it down and figure it out, she could apply the same thing to art. So what she's telling me is she hasn't been exposed to the right things yet. And the primary thing could be a mentor. You know, the key element to all this, getting good at stuff fast, is find a mentor. Find somebody who has seen a lot of people get good, and so they can help you speed up. You know, they can help you make the adjustments faster. Okay? And here's what's interesting. A lot of geniuses and prodigies that teach people how to get good at things, this is what they say. You need to find somebody that will help mentor you. You know, that's what a great teacher or coach can do. So, again, that's what these kids are trying to do. They're having to deal with what's on the show. They need to hope that they've got people they can call on the phone that can help them. Or they need to find people like me that just understand this stuff, that they can help strategize and figure out the best way to deal with limited amounts of time and decisions they've got to make their music as great as possible in minimal time. All right. The next group we see is a guy who...
Smooth Soul is focused only on Plan A.
You know, Daniel Farmer, who happens to be a guy that I think has mad skills. He's the Jakizi, Luther Vandross like vocalist, but there's something about his personality that this is a type. Like I say, there's a type of person that fits this. And I would have never believed that Joy and the other person in his group would have gone through. Lindita. I wasn't a fan of Lindita. I still am not a fan of Lindita. To me, she is so over the top. Daniel sounds good. Okay, now that was lame right there. He's okay. You know, I guess it's not a fantastic performance. But this Lindita thing, come on. Okay, I'm sorry, but okay, this is one of the things where this is sizzle over substance, okay? Lindita's lick just wasn't executed that well. It was very imitative, it wasn't natural, raw, it wasn't believable. It was, hey, look, I can do a Christina Aguilera thing. It just didn't work for me. Lindita, let's put it this way. Lindita has skills, but she's still an imitator. She hasn't figured out anything unique. You know, she's just regurgitating Christina and Mariah Carey licks, and they don't sound original. You know, she doesn't string them together well enough. And she's too intense in her movements. You know, she's over the top. Sorry. Just the way it is. Simon Cowell. So I was surprised that of the three, Daniel didn't make it, because I really think that Joy was already given a gift by making it through beyond what she should have. Okay, so the next group of girls is the three
Trouble saying
Boricuas.
goodbye to her group mates is
Right?
Elise Camacho of the group Las Boricuas.
Okay, and you know, I think I like the way that the show highlighted this girl as an example of what's wrong with personality and attitude, and why it doesn't matter if she can sing. If you've got that kind of personality, it comes through in your singing, and it doesn't hit people the right way, especially the audience for this show. So no question in my mind why this girl went. And I think the other two, well, first of all, the one girl's really got a cool vibe, you know, real pretty, cute hip hop, kind of Ashley Judd look. She's got a really good vibe, but she forgot her words. Jonna, let's see, oh, that was just the rehearsal, okay. So, John Isabella, that's right. Anyway, the Elisa Camacho lick was pretty hideous, I gotta say. I mean, she missed it totally. She didn't have it's like she's trying to squeeze those notes out. She didn't own them. I mean, that was really kind of embarrassing for her. And she got what she deserved. So I'm happy for John Isabella and the other girl. What is her name?
24-year-olds up there, and this 15-year-old, she just outsang y'all.
And she forgot all the words.
Yeah, you are very young, very inexperienced, but based on what you've done in the past and what you did today, I thought you did fine.
Thank you. All right, this stuff is never easy, and it's not always just about talent.
Okay, so what's interesting is, where is the name of the other girl here?
Dana, step forward.
Dana, okay. Yeah,
Gianna,
I
step forward.
see Dana's name, but at least they mentioned it. Okay, so
Congratulations.
okay, so here's a good example. Okay, John Isabella, again, she's a power belter, but again, we're not seeing anything unique about her. You know, she's just a young girl with a big voice. Is she going to be able to turn into something unique enough? Okay, this Dana girl, you know, she's got a really, really cute look, you know, pretty eyes. She's got, like I say, that Ashley Judd, all-American with the international flair look.
What are you singing?
I
We're singing Me and My Broken
I don't know if
Heart,
she's
and,
strong enough, though.
Our group name is the Good Vibes.
Okay, now,
Okay.
the Good Vibes, as we know, showed up and just did not have enough energy. Okay, the vibrations were not being,
Like,
They
kill the
weren't-
rest of that performance.
they weren't
You
traveling.
have to have that if you're going to be in this business. It just won't work any other way. I promise you, it's too brutal.
Jessica, please take a step forward. I want to.
See, I thought Olivia Ty should have made it through. I thought if you go by how they sing in this,
Thank you.
I totally disagree with that. You know, the Olivia Ty girl
It looks.
had
And
a
I tag it.
really
This is the
cool
mentality.
vibe.
Complacent. I don't get it, man. I don't.
It was Alisana Tolai. That guy totally choked. See, I thought both girls were worthy of going through, so I do have issues with that one. I think that was not very fair. Okay, now the next group was C.J. Johnson, Jess Kellner. I think she's really got a cool look and sound. And Jessica Baker sounded great there too. These sound really good. I thought they had a good vibe, and for the song they sang, they did adequate choreography. It wasn't great.
For a group, but it didn't show me anything about which one of y'all was a superstar.
CJ, take a step forward, bro. Jessica. Jess.
Okay, I agree with that. Then. They sent those three through. It was a little questionable. Okay, then we got the four college-looking guys. Thomas Stringfellow looked good. But there were issues with this Bryson guy, and I'm surprised he sent through the blonde curly-headed dude. I thought the guy that was looking down had the coolest voice. But I guess you can't just go out and sing before judges and look at the ground. So, all right, moving right along here. This brings us up to one of the last couple groups here.
Why Reba?
So we started off.
We got Mario. We know that they love Mario. He's going to make it through. Okay, we got all three of them that made it through. So,
Why Reba?
We lost some.
they have a nice vibe. I'll give them credit. Okay, we'll put them through without too much problem. I like the girl. I think she's got a really good vibe too.
Quality that you don't have, yeah.
And to other people.
Yeah.
It
was that
really tough
raspiness.
today. Yeah,
But you sounded really good.
You know the line, I can't lie no more? Well, you know what? They can't lie either. And I don't think they were clapping out of support.
Nope.
I think they were clapping.
Okay, let's hear it just a minute. Okay, so they got a little reggae edge to it. Okay, well the crowd loves it, the judges love it. Okay, so all three are going through. I'm not thinking that the tall guy with glasses is going to make it through. Again, it's an image thing. And the girl, I like her, but I don't know if there's enough unique. Again, she's going to have an image thing. She's good, but is she better than just an average good singer? Okay, so that leaves us to our third guy, Mario. He's got a unique look. I mean, no question about it. So I can see why they like him.
On stage, I'm gonna have to concentrate on remembering steps.
You know, we come down to La Portia's group with the two other gals that were kind of abandoned, and they did great. They did great.
In a rehearsal, it becomes apparent La Portia is not the most absent-minded.
And again, they're able to salvage the one song. I like the girl who forgot the lyrics and still pulled it off.
Performing the same track
so here we go.
Live are the penultimate group, Soul Cats.
I can feel the way I walk.
Okay, now these guys just Soul Cats, Laurel and the rest of these guys just.
This is your audience, not
just kind of.
you. Don't turn around.
That was a disaster, and Harry cussed him out. Pretty much, try to put him into. Okay, we know that they like this group. You know, it's the one towards the end. They do a great job. When I say that, what's interesting, they like the three people, but let's figure out, do any of them have that take it to the end ability? I think the only one is maybe Mario. I just don't see the other ones having enough unique attributes or as a whole package to make it. So they might make it through, but I doubt it. I don't think they're going to even go top 24. I think just Mario will. All right, so moving right along. We're down to our last couple groups. We've got, we see the rehearsal of the Portia and the two girls who she went to save them so they could be a group. Then we've got a group of 4 people that I'm not going to waste my time on because they were terrible. They just weren't very good. So let's just go all the way down then to La Portia and the other 2 girls of her group.
And end up going home.
And what do we see from this? Because first of all, I can't stand the song, and I would have never picked it if I were any of them. This just doesn't seem like a great song. But hey, they did their thing. They tried to diva-size it. So we got some power singing, but we got one girl that just, we know that one of the girls just kind of spaced out on the words. But what did she do? She showed you what you do when you forget the words. You still got to sell it. You got to fake it. And I think she deserved the credit that Harry gave her, which was, hey, you recovered from what could have been a disaster. So, that being our last group, I will give this episode credit for redeeming itself from Wednesday night, because Wednesday just left too many questions. And Thursday, I think that there's still some questionable decisions. I'm not sure I agree with several. Well, I know I don't agree with several, but hey, I wasn't there. So, let's see what happens as we prepare for next week. We're getting ready for the final judgment coming up, I guess, next week, as well as the final showdown where I think we're going to see everyone sing off again. So, should be very interesting next couple episodes as we set the stage for who is going to be the final American Idol. Thank you again for your support. Please send me any questions or comments, suggestions, anything I can do to make this more professional, more enjoyable. If I'm being too talky, I mean, this is taking way too long. I'd have a hard time sitting through this if I wasn't really sure that the quality of the content was there. And again, I try to focus on steak, not sizzle. So if you value my perspective and insights, I'm just trying to help people understand music more so they can enjoy it more and get more joy out of it. Okay, that's it. See you soon. Thanks for coming. See you next, I think it'll be next Thursday. Okay, I'll make sure it's up by the next day. None of this few days in between stuff. Okay, thank you for your support.